Hi, um, I want to do this video because a lot of people have been asking me some questions around studying abroad, and it's always good for you to get first-hand information because you can better inform yourself on what action to take. Forget all what you might have been told by your friends or some of your family members. Anybody might have told you some stories. It's always good to rely on verifiable information. So, what I'm going to show you today is verifiable information if you want to study abroad. Now, this information is only for the United Kingdom. So, if you are planning to study in Canada, this video is absolutely not for you. If you are planning to study in America, this video is not for you. This video is only for those who wish to study in the United Kingdom. Now, the United Kingdom consists of four countries. You have England, you have Scotland, you have Wales, and you have Northern Ireland. Now, each of these four countries all have universities. So there are universities in Wales, there are universities in Scotland, there are universities in England, and there are universities as well also in Northern Ireland. So depending on where you want to study, you need to understand that when you say United Kingdom is not London. London is just the capital of England. That's it. It has nothing to do with Scotland. So if you are looking at Scotland, you're looking at Glasgow. If you are looking at Wales, you're looking at Cardiff. And if you're looking at Northern Ireland, you're looking at Belfast. Those are the capital cities. So you can do some Google search to find out this information as well. So if you if you are planning to study abroad, always put it at the back of your mind that universities in London is going to be very expensive compared to universities in Wales, compared to universities in Scotland or Northern Ireland. Now, there is also another country which you might want to consider, which is the main highland. So there is difference between highland and there is difference between Northern Ireland. For those who might be a Catholic and who might know who Father Slattery is, late, um, he's late right now. The priest is from Highland, is not from Northern Ireland. So there's Republic of Highland, which is not part of the United Kingdom. So you really need to do a lot of searches and understanding when it comes to studying abroad. You don't just say, "Oh, I want to study abroad." Where do you want to study abroad? UK. Where in UK do you want to study? You need to have a definitive place of where you want to study in the UK. Now, if you've settled for England, you need to now think, okay, where in England do you want to study? Do you want to study in London or do you want to study outside of London? Now, a lot of people will just generally say, if you are not in London, you live in outside London. But outside London, where do you want to study? Do you want to study in Kent, Manchester? Do you want to study in Liverpool? You need to look at all these cities where you want to study and really understand if it is right for you. Every city is different, and London is the most expensive city in the whole of the United Kingdom, which is in England. So, if you want to study in England and you are looking to study in London, just know that the universities you're going to be coming across with are going to be very expensive, right? Now, international students, if you're coming from Nigeria as a student, you are regarded as an international student. You are not regarded as an home student. Home students simply means those who have residency or who are British citizen or who are from the European Union. But since the United Kingdom is not in European Union anymore, then they might be classed as international student as well. But you really need to find out from the university. So, a little bit of background is that once you've decided that you want to where you want to study, you need to know that there are things that you're going to be responsible for. And I'm just going to do a notepad so that you can see, and I'm just going to increase the font so that you can see what I'm typing. If you want to study in the United Kingdom, for example, right, and you've decided England, and you've decided London, and you've decided you want to study in London, right? Now, you need to understand one thing. You are an international student, and you will be responsible for tuition fee, okay? Let's call it school fees, since we are all familiar with that as a Nigerian. And you'll be responsible with accommodation, okay? And your accommodation as a student, well, let's say you rent one room, okay? Now, you will be living in a shared accommodation. So maybe somebody has a two-bedroom house and they want to rent one of the bedroom house. So you'll be looking at that, and you'll be looking at transportation. So for you to go to school, you'll be looking at transportation, and you'll be able to apply for things like an Oyster Card, which you can get a little bit of discount as a student, which it doesn't really matter whether you are an international student or a home student, because the transportation does not link to the university. It is just something that you have to apply for with Transport for London. Now, Oyster Card is only available in London travel zones. All right. So I'm going to be showing you the travel zones as well. What I mean by that. Now, the travel zones is from zone 1 to I think 9. Um, so, but any other places that is outside of the zone, remember you have to pay additional money. But I'm going to go into that details again. And then you're looking at food. Of course, you have to eat as a student. And let's talk about what a lot of people, the misconception that a lot of people think that, oh, as a student, you're going to be able to work and you're going to be able to raise money to pay for your school fees and pay for your accommodation and pay for transportation. Why it might be possible to do to pay for some of your expenses through the part-time work you do. Remember, you will only be required to work a set amount of hours, usually between 10 to 20 hours a week during school time. And you can work 38 hours full time a week during school holidays. So know that this 38 hours, you're going to be working with an employer. So when an employer employs you, they've already employed you as a student, so they have your student visa and all that. So if you want to work full time, you need to talk to your employer that you are now on holiday. So if they have more shift and vacancies and things like that, they can, you can work more hours. That is the way it works. So you have to be the one talking to the employer, or you can also find another second job during during your school holiday period. And always remember, you need to have documentation to back all these things you are doing, because you don't want to run a victim of working more than 38 hours during your school term, because a lot of people can do that, but you run a risk of, if you get caught and they start asking question, and one question lead to one question and another question lead to another question and another question lead to another question, and you are deemed to have broken the immigration rules, then you are really, really going to be in a big trouble. So I will always make sure that you don't work more than 20 hours during school time, and you don't work more than 38 hours um, during holiday period, because you also need to ensure that you come out with a good grade. If you can't come out with the first class, at least you should come out with minimum of 2-1, a second class upper degree. Now, although your degree or your qualification might not even count when you're looking for a job or something like that, but we'll come to that later. So we've looked at what we're going to be looking at, and you're going to be looking at, you're an international student and you're going to be responsible for things like accommodation, transport, food, or work. I'm just going to put this as work. And you have that. And also, you're going to be thinking of clothes as well, because you need to take care of yourself and look good. Unless you want to buy all your clothes from Nigeria, fine, you can wear that because you are not here to do fancy or show off. But at least your shoe is going to worn out and you're going to want to buy shoes. And I'll show you where you can buy your shoe. Not expensive. You can buy on Amazon as well, and you have you have access. The one benefit of thing is that if you travel into the United Kingdom as a student, you are guaranteed health care. Although right now you have to pay what I think they call healthcare surcharge, but that it's just a fee that you're just going to pay once. You're not going to be paying money to see the doctor every single time. It doesn't work that way. So you'll be able to register with your local clinic, but here we call it GP. GP means general practitioner. So they call it a surgery. It's not like you're going for a surgical operation. It's just, for you to have a chat. So, um, and you have access to learn how to drive and all of that. But one of the things I'm going to first of all tell you is that when we look at all this information, so I'm going to make sure I just do my screen a little bit so that um, it's actually, I will just put it, I can always minimize that. Now, let's assume you've said you want to study abroad, right? And the study abroad you've decided to, you want to study in England and the universities in England. So let's just do some Google search. Universities in England. All right. So now you've seen universities in England, and we just say list of universities. It doesn't really have to be any special websites. Now these are universities in England, and I know a lot of people want to go to Cambridge, but trust me, it's expensive to go to Cambridge, and it's expensive to go to Oxford. It's expensive to go to St. Andrews. And these universities, let us first of all look at location. As I've told you earlier, we have England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. But because London is more of a generic place that a lot of people think the United Kingdom is London basically. That's why this website, I think they've added London. So if we say location London, you can see it has narrowed it down to some universities. It says here Imperial College, um, Loughborough University, London School of Economics, blah blah blah, Royal Holloway, University of London, King's College. So there is a lot. Queen's Mary University, a lot. University of West London. Goes. It doesn't really matter the universities now, but you've decided you want to study in London. Now, let's say I'm not going to choose that. Let me go to my own university where I studied, okay, where I studied computing, and I had a 2-1 degree. So now where I study is University of Greenwich. Now, if we open the link and we go to University of Greenwich, we will see here. So let's just go to the website. We can see the ranking in the UK is 84, in Times ranking, and worldwide is not really applicable. You see the minimum IELTS requirement, which is 4.0, and you have your undergraduate and you have your postgraduate. This is the average fees. Okay, average fees. A lot of you understand mathematics, so average fee is not as like every course that the university offer is the same. No, the university so the average fees is this. So some courses might be lesser than 10,000, 850, and some courses might be higher than 10,850 for undergraduate, while some courses might be higher for postgraduate, which is masters, for 11,700 or more. Now we have student satisfaction 78.4, which is not bad because I went there, so I know it's not a bad university. In fact, it has history in it because it's in Greenwich. So if you know things about Greenwich Mean Time, that is where all this magic happens. Um, and there are two campuses in Greenwich. One is in Greenwich and one is in Ivory Hill. Right, Ivory Hill is in Kent. It's not in London, but so um, many of the courses that has to do with like technology, business, finance, and things like that happens in Greenwich, and many of the courses that have to do with medicine, nursing, and all that, you do it in Ivory Hill. I think Medway as well. So, international students, the percentage of international student is 14.90%. All right. So, which is a fair amount of international students. So, you're going to feel more at home a little bit, although many of them might not be blacks, many of them might be Asians, but some might be blacks and some might be Nigeria and some might be other African countries as well. But you're going to feel at home because the location of Greenwich is, it's very close to where I'll call the southeast. So it's very close to where there are a lot of black people in Greenwich. So the neighboring town close to Greenwich, you have Lewisham, you have Deptford, you know, and you have like New Cross and all that. Now, a lot of you guys also have talked about scholarship and that. Oh, can I get scholarship and things like that? Yes, you can get scholarship, but the way scholarship works sometimes, it's not like you're going to get full scholarship. Okay, you rarely get full scholarship. Sometimes you just get a discount of a scholarship. So let's say your course is this amount, 10,850, you might get a scholarship of 50% scholarship. That means the amount of money that you're going to spend for school fees is half of this 10,850, which is gonna be about 5,000, 425 pounds. Now, that is still a lot of money because when we look at our calculator, let's bring our calculator out and the current state. Let's say you were lucky, okay? Because I use that word lucky because it's a scholarship. It's not like every international student that study in Greenwich, okay? All this 14.90% of people that study in Greenwich as international students, none of them will get full scholarship. So don't be delusional to think that you're going to get 100% scholarship, that the school is going to tell you you're not going to pay anything and that's it. No, because every other international student, okay, those from Africa, those from Asia, those from North America, all of you are fighting for the same scholarship. Okay, so the school might just say they will offer you 50% or 25%, depending on their policy. We're going to look more details into that as well. Now, if you also look at, so let's say they've given you half of scholarship. So your tuition fee for 1 year as an undergraduate student is this. Multiply that by the current rate of Nigerian naira. As we all know, the dollar is skyrocketing. You are 4,123,000 to pay for tuition fee. Now, if they say, okay, can you pay this tuition fee in 3 installments or 2 installments, depending on what is on your admission letter, okay, and then you can say, let's say they even accept to get three because you might have 3 terms to finish 1 year. So you divide by three. That means what you're paying for is 1,374 per year. That is if you have full 50% scholarship. But if you don't have that scholarship, you're going to have to pay full amount of your school fees. And you have to pay it on time because if you don't pay it on time, they might stop you from writing exam, they might stop you from attending class, and you know you'll be owing money. Basically, you'll not be able to finish your course, and that can make you, not feel well and all that. So now they have two main campus, which is Greenwich and Ivory Hill. All right. Now, if you're studying in Greenwich and your course is in Greenwich, it will be advisable for you to live closer to Greenwich. For example, I talked about the Oyster Card, which is the transportation, right? Greenwich is in zone 2, all right? Ivory Hill is not even in the zone that Oyster Card covers. So don't even think that you're going to live in Ivory Hill and then you come to Greenwich every day. The amount of money you're going to spend on transportation alone will be enough for you to pay for one, you know, term of a school fees. So don't even think of that. Now, if we go to the university main site, let me just see if they have the details here. Okay, let's just click on this website and it's actually, let me go back and just right click. Now, the university was founded in 1890, so this includes Greenwich campus located in the Old Royal Navy College in England. Is the largest, London, blah blah blah. You can read all that. So now, let's go to our university. So this is the university main website. All right, University of Greenwich, and you can always go online and interact and make more information about it. Don't listen to whatever you read. Okay, don't listen to whatever you read, especially on Twitter. Okay, a lot of people just post ridiculous information. Some information might be correct, but none of them will show you this more detailed information on Twitter. Okay, and don't let anybody just tell you some fantasy world. So we are looking at a real information here. University of Greenwich. Now, you've decided to study here and you've said, okay, I want to study here, international students, right? Now, let's browse our courses and let's just say any course, what do you want to study? Let's say, adult nursing, for example, and we have this information, right? Now, you you can always check here and say your entry requirements. Let's go for the entry requirement. So the entry requirement, they say GCSE English math. GCSE is equivalent to your WAEC NECO that you have in Nigeria. So say you know math and English with a minimum of grade C. So if you meet all that, and then you have your high healthy information, which is 7.0 minimum with a minimum of 6.5 in each skills. All right, that's your or an equivalent. Okay, when they write equivalent in anything, you will need to have a communication with the university if you are applying to the university directly. Okay. Now, so the total UCAS point is this, and UCAS is like JAM, stands for University College Admission Service, which is their website, and that is where you normally apply if you're applying for an undergraduate course. Okay. If you're applying for postgraduate, it's always advisable to apply directly to the university than using UCAS. Some undergraduate degree as well, you can also apply as well with your like directly to university. So let us look at the entry requirements, which is basically you're going to meet all these entry requirements, and as you can see, because of COVID and everything, you have to get your COVID vaccine. Um, Now there's a program not open to overseas applicants, require a student visa. So you're gonna need a student visa. You cannot just fly to the UK without having. So this is what you will learn everything, statistics, whatever. So you can always read all that information. Um, Now let's look at the fees and finance, which is the more important information. As I told you before, home student is 9,250. International student, NA not applicable, international student not applicable. So international students may not, okay, because I've not contacted the university yet. So international student may not be able to study adult nursing BSc honors. And the reason why you may not be able to study that as an international student is if you look at the entry requirement, they are talking about things like diploma in health and social care, MVQ, level 3, access courses. As a Nigerian, you may not have this information. So let's go to the course that you might have um, the qualification for. So let's go again for international students and let's browse course. And for now, let's just say computing. All right, BSc honors computing or information system. It doesn't matter. You know, business computing, business computing, and you have this information. Now, entry requirement again is going to be similar to whatever you've seen, but if you are a UK or have a permanent residency from outside the UK, okay, the university accept a broad range of courses. If we look, if we go back again to there's something I want to show you. The duration is 3 years. You will not be able to study for 6 years part time or 4 years sandwich. You will not be able to do that as an international student. It's going to be the 3 years full time because you will not be able to get your student visa on a part time course. And the start month is September. All right. Home slash international student fees. Like I said, the average is on this website, which is 10,850. If you look at here now, you can see the average that you're going to be paying is 15,100 pounds. All right, 15,100 pounds. Now, um, if you are applying to start at year 2023 starter, pay the fee for year 2022 slash 2023. So sometimes they give a concession as well. And what you need to know about the course is practical, blah, 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 whatever. You can always read that. Again, international student is this. Now, funding your studies, right? There are there is a range of financial support options available to support your study, including Aspire at Greenwich Award for Student Resources that many full-time students will receive. EU students may be eligible for bursary to support their studies. You are from Nigeria, you are not from an EU country, you will not qualify. So anybody telling you that you can get a bursary, they are just telling you stories. Now, visit our EU whatever, and you can see that. Now, there are a range of also discover more about grants, student loan, bursary, scholarship, and all that. Now, if you find out about all this information, you can apply for undergraduate loan, you can apply for postgraduate loan, you can apply for federal loan because you are not even a US, because it's a student from the United States. Find out. So you need to look at, so let's look at where people always say, oh, you can get something, scholarship. Now, in the scholarship area, we have here different types of scholarship. So there's a scholarship for 2021 to 2022, and then there's Greenwich Postgraduate. So look at this scholarship. Our Greenwich Postgraduate Scholarship gives final year undergraduate at the University of Greenwich a chance to receive £5,000 to continue their studies with us. Remember, your tuition fee is 15,000. That's your tuition fee is £15,000. All right, that's your tuition fee, £15,000. And what they're offering you for scholarship is 5,000. So where do you get the remaining £10,000 to pay for your school fees? All right. There's also what they call International Hardship Fund. You can see this is for students for EU. This fund is for student. This fund is for EU students without a maintenance loan and continuing international students who have experienced unexpected short-term costs. You are not an EU student, you will not be able to get that. Now, International Scholarship Award. Now, international student who holds an offer to study at the University of Greenwich could receive a tuition fee discount up to £3,000 in the first year. In the first year, and if you look at this English that they wrote, could receive, they are not saying you will receive it. So not every international student will receive it. So let's say you have a first class in Nigeria, for example, or let's say you have a good degree, a good WAEC result, you got A, whatever, and B, and you think you're very brilliant, and you can write to the universities. There's scholarship that you can get, and the university can tell you, okay, we're going to offer you maybe £2,000 scholarship. So from your 15,000, remove 2,000 from it, you'll be left with £13,000 to pay. So you can look at all these things, and you might see that there's a lot of links here. This foundation, this bursary, this scholarship, this vision for scholarship thing. One of the things that you'll be surprised to it is that you might only be eligible to apply for one of it. You might be able to apply for more than one. So let's say you apply for International Student Hardship Fund, which is EU, you cannot apply for that. So let's say you apply for this and you get this, you have £13,000 to pay. So let's say um you want to apply for this as well, which is if you are an undergraduate student enroll on a certain courses in architecture and landscape. So if you are studying computing, engineering, whatever, you will not be able to apply for this scholarship because this scholarship is not designed for that course. If you look at another one as well, which says Robert Holman Bursary, this award is worth 1,000 for current students studying accounting and finance. Now you can see how they've they've split this type of scholarship and bursaries that you. that you can get as an international student or as an undergraduate student. And you realize that many of these is tied and linked to the course you are studying. Now, there is also Royal Navy and Royal Marine bursary. This bursary provide up to 3,000 per year for undergraduate students who have served in the Royal Marine or Royal Navy or whose parents have a record of service. So if you've not served in the United Kingdom as a military person in the in the Royal Navy or Royal Marines, then you will not be able to get this. So you can see there's a lot of scholarship type, but you have to look for them. And the ones that so you have to sit down and say, okay, which course do you want to study? You want to study um computing, right? And the fee is, let's say, £15,000, right? And you can get some scholarship for £3,000 as an international student with a good record. And also you can get maybe additional £1,000 because you are studying computing. And also maybe you can get additional of, let's say, another like £3,000, you know, because of some other issues as well. So when you look at all this scholarship that you can attract, that you can get, remove what you've been awarded from the current tuition fees. That's what you will be required to pay as a full-time student. So it is very difficult for those who do not have money. I know some of you will say, oh, God will provide, but trust me, before you even get your visa, they will be requiring you to pay a tuition fee as a conditional offer. Um, it is very rare now for you to get unconditional offer these days because immigration rules 10, 12, 13 years ago has really changed. Now there's something they call caste, so you are linked to the school. You can before you can even change school now, it's very difficult. So all this information that I'm giving you is something that you need to think about. Now, if you look at other, so let's look at accommodation, one room. Let's say one room for rent, Greenwich. Let's say there's spare room. There's a popular site called Gumtree, which is what you're going to see, right? Good size room in a spatial bedroom with Wi-Fi included, everything, right? You're paying £110 per week. Okay, this is £500 per month. So you will not be able to get at least nothing less than for your room. You won't be able to get anything less than £500. You'll be lucky to get anything less than £500. So start thinking of how much you're going to pay. And this is per month, not per year. Nigerians pay per year in Nigeria, you will pay per month. Now, transportation, because you're studying in Greenwich, let's say you live in Lewisham, you should walk, okay? You don't need an Oyster Card to travel from Lewisham to Greenwich. However, when you've lived in this country, even for 1 week, you realize that to walk 1 mile is different from 1 mile in Nigeria. So you might want to take a bus. And jumping on a bus, you will definitely need to use what they call Transport for London. And that costs you about £1.50. Now, this is the website for Transport for London. And you live in, let's say you live in in Deptford. Let's say you live in Deptford. So I used to live in Deptford for a while I was studying in Greenwich. So let's say you live in Deptford, right? Mine was even far away from that. So let's just say Deptford Rail Station. That's where you live, and or that's where you want to take your train, and then you want to go to Greenwich. All right, and then you plan your journey. You can always change your time and everything. It costs £2.40 to travel from there. Okay, and that is one journey off peak. £2 and one ride. So £2.40 times 760, 1,824 naira. That's what you will use. So if you can, but you can walk this because it just is 7 minutes on the bus, and for walking it's about 15, 20, 25 minutes if you're a slow walker. So you can walk if you want to walk. But then doing that every day, and you can't walk everywhere because they want to go and buy food, shopping at the local Tesco's around, you can't really walk everywhere. So you will need to have an Oyster card. And an Oyster card, you will need to have your travel pass. So this is an Oyster card, and I talked about the zones last time. So if you look at this Oyster card, you'll be able to get your Oyster card, or you can pay through your contactless card. But with your Oyster card, you can get some discount, and you can touch. So let's say you buy your travel card. You can buy your travel card for 7 days travel card, monthly travel card, and all that. But your travel card will cover the zones you want to you want to travel. So if we look at fare and you find the zones, um, I just use pay as you go, so I don't really use this. So let's say we go to zones. Um, just go on Google and say zone, which zone is Greenwich. Like last time I say it was in zone two, so it's in between zone two and three. So right now you can buy your travel card only for zone two and three. That means if you travel outside this zone, you're going to pay extra money. So it's very expensive to study abroad right now in 2022. It is really, really expensive. So what I want you guys to do is that if you've looked at this video and you say, "Oh, I have a lot of question," send me your question. Let me know what exactly do you want? How do you want to navigate your traveling? One of the things that I will tell you is that you will not be able to avoid some of these things. You can't. You can't avoid some of these things. The last thing I did not talk about is food. Let's talk about food. In Greenwich, you'll be looking at Tesco's, which they have Tesco's in Greenwich. I'm not sure if they have it, if they have stores like Howdy, for example. So you'll be shopping in stores like this, okay? Not in the market like you are used to in Nigeria, all right? You'll be shopping in stores. And these stores, it's not like you go there with money and then you'll be negotiating price. The prices are already there that you have to, if it's £2, £1, and you have to just know how to shop. And how much you shop depends on how much you eat, depends on your preference, depends on what's your lifestyle. So Is it going to be 30 or 40 pounds a week, which is about how much? 100 pounds or 150 pounds a month for food, and 150 pounds a month or 120 pounds a month is what? 9,000, um, 150 times 760. That's 114,000 per month that you're going to be using to eat food. So you need to think, do you want to cook at home or you want to buy and manage your money and eat 101 or 111? And trust me, don't even dare to go and eat out. All right. A lot of you might say, oh, I'm in abroad now, so I want to eat out. I want to don't even dare to eat out because eating out will cost you at least minimum 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 pounds. So don't even dream of that. That is just for one meal. So it is really, really, really tough. Okay. A lot of you believe in Jesus, believe in God. I believe in God myself. But trust me, money will not fall down from heaven. Money will have to come from somewhere. And you have to think about it. Where is this money going to come from? Is your father going to sell his land or his properties to fund this education for you? Because you need to think about it. How do you get this finances? Is your brother that is living abroad going to send you this money or pay for your school fees? Now, if you're thinking of that, you need to think, oh, how much is your brother who is living abroad is even earning that will be able to afford to pay this amount of money for you in school fees and all that. So you need to put all these things in perspective and look at how you will be able to support yourself. And this is where work comes in. As a student, whew, that is really something that you have to look at. So let's say you want to work in a coffee shop, for example. Okay. As a student, right? You're gonna want to work in a coffee shop, let's say Costa Coffee hourly rate. Okay. How much they pay hourly rate. Now, Costa Coffee pay the average cost is between £8 to £9 an hour. All right. So let's say you get £10 an hour, or you're working out you know, in grocery stores, and you get, let's say you get even £12 an hour, right? So let's calculate it. £12 an hour. Remember, you're working 20 hours per week, right? It's 20 hours per week, right? Times four, 960. Now, you remove your rent first, £500. You're left with 460, right? Then minus your food, which we'll talk about, which was 150, right, per month. You have £310. Now you have your mobile phone and you have like credit or something that you want to buy. Let's say you spend additional £30 on that. You are left with £280. Now you're going as a if you are a lady, you're gonna want to buy for ladies thing that you want to look good, your sanitary pad, whatever that you're buying is not free. Your clothing, your maintenance and everything. And I've now removed transportation from here as well. And so you have your clothes, you have your transportation, all right? and maybe you need to buy some books or something, or or just want to just want to buy some things. Now, £280 is left from your salary. Do you realistically think that you're going to be able to pay 10,000? You're going to be able, if you got all the scholarship, which is 6,000, and your tuition fee remains £9,000. Do you think you can pay this a month? You multiply by three, 850, right? Do you think you can pay this? You can pay 9,000 with £850. So if you don't have financial support back home, or somebody who is ready to sponsor or support you financially here, just trust me, it is expensive. You cannot meet that financial commitment as a student. And even if you work full time and you are doing more job, and you are doing more than the hours that you're supposed to work, maximum, let's say you get £1,500. But trust me, this £1,500, your education might be lacking behind because you will be tired. You might not, be able to concentrate and read and get good grades. So think of what you want to achieve and all these things. It is very difficult. I'm not saying it's not possible, but you need to understand where you're going to get that money from. Who is going to pay for that money? How are you going to support yourself? Because studying abroad is not as rosy as a lot of people think. So if you have any question at all, feel free, okay? Feel free to let me know. All right? Feel free to let me know, and I'll be glad to respond to your questions and answers. Okay? I'm always here to respond to everybody's answer. But trust me, you can achieve it, but it needs planning. You can't just wake up tomorrow and say, I want to travel up. Oh, my friend went, he went yesterday, or he went last month, and and the following month, he has sent a car, or the following few months, he has brought his brother, his youngest. You don't really know people's situation. So before you make assumption and judgment about what people are doing, you need to really find out more information. Okay, these are all the things that personally for me I would do. You know, if I'm in your shoes right now and I want to study abroad, this is what I will do. I will search. I will find out. It doesn't have to be University of Greenwich, but I've just shown you an example. But every university is going to fall under the same category because United Kingdom is a standardized country. Nobody just do things anyhow. So what you see here is different. And if you want to study in London, no, it's expensive. If you want to study in Wales, it might be cheaper. Rent is cheaper in outside London compared to what you will get in London. Now, the £500 that you're going to pay for rent for one room in London Southeast might be what you're going to pay for one bedroom flat or a studio flat in outside London, maybe Newcastle. However, you don't have the luxury of Oyster Card in Newcastle. So every part of the United Kingdom has been structured in such a way that there is advantages and there are disadvantages. I've lived in England, I've lived in London, I live in Kent right now. I don't really live in the main Kent, okay, but my postcode and address is in Kent. But when we talk about Kent, you might be talking about like Canterbury, the main Kent. All those places are even more expensive sometimes to London in terms of the accommodation and also in terms of the transportation. For example, I don't travel outside of Dartford to other parts of Kent with Oyster Card because it's going to cost me more. All right. Let me just show you how much, for example. Let's say I live in Dartford, for example. So let's say Dartford, and let's say you study in University of Greenwich, and you're going to Ivory Hill every day, right? 17 minutes, right? And cost. Okay, Ivory Hill train take 39 minutes and cost between £3 and £13. Now, alternatively, you can take bus 96, which costs you £2, but it's going to take you 1 hour 20 minutes. So think about what think about those costs and time and everything. So it's really difficult, and there are things that you can do to help yourself. But trust me, it's visually impossible for you to think, oh, you come here, you can work and pay your school fees with what you're earning. Delete that information from your mind. Don't even think of it. You can never pay for your school fees while you are working in the United Kingdom as a student. Delete that information. Anybody that tells you that, tell them to show you their pay slip. Because tell you, if people just tell you things without proof, they can just give you stories. And because you've not lived in England, you believe. So what I'm telling you right now is the fact. So if you have any information, if you have any question for me, feel free to ask, and I'll be glad to respond to you. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you again in the next